Hello, friends. Welcome to Lead Empowered TV, where we have real conversations that transform how we lead, work, and live. I'm your host, Nathan Mitchell. Today's guest is Steve Ramona. Steve is a next level super connector, creating 1 billion in project impact and 125 million in partner deals, one personalized introduction at a time. His signature approach: custom video introductions that make every connection personal, purposeful, and profitable. As host of the Top 20 Doing Business with a Servant's Heart podcast, now over 800 episodes strong and reaching 50,000 plus listeners per show, Steve is a guiding voice in heart-led business growth. He also leads Together We Serve on the E360 TV network, where 1.6 million viewers tune in monthly to hear transformational stories from purpose-driven leaders like himself. Steve isn't just building networks, he's building a movement of meaningful collaboration and lasting impact. Steve, welcome to the show, my friend. It's a pleasure to have you.
Nathan, thank you so much. And we're brothers in E360 TV. I'm so excited you've launched your channel. Congratulations.
Thank you, man. I am so grateful that I have guests like yourself to join me for the first month in December. And before we get started into our discussion today on the topic of servant leadership, how did you get into this space of podcasting and doing TV shows and just finding ways to deliver value to other people and really push them up?
I learned at 18 years old, Nathan. My family started a health club, fitness club. And I just got out of high school, and my cousin Jeff, shout out to him, he was my mentor for many years. It taught me so much about business. Was once you come work the front desk and make some money, you're 18, 19 years old, summertime, you need money. You need to go out, find your girlfriend, whatever you're doing. I learned working the front desk as I'm checking in 40, 50, 60-year-olds, the power of relationships. And one of the stories I learned was so valuable to me is Tony used to come in, the young, little small Italian guy. He called me kid. Hey, kid, how you doing? Hey, kid. And he was fine. He said, hey, kid, through this book, says, hey, read this. I'll come back next week. I want to get your thoughts. It was a small 60-page book, and I believe it was called The Wealthy Barber. I think that's correct. You still can get it. And he came back Tuesday, and of course, he goes, kid, did you read the book? I said, I did. What'd you get from it? I said, basically take 10% of my income. And by the way, this is 1979, 80. I was making $3 an hour. Not a lot of money.
Yeah, 10% is a lot of that.
Yes. So, I was probably making $1,000 a month, maybe less. But I was taking $50, $100 and putting it away. I realized, I looked at it once in a while. I didn't touch it because I was always feeling Tony on my shoulder. Leave it alone. Let it grow. Let it compound. But 10 years later, 28, 29, I looked at it, was $68,000 in that bank account.
Oh, wow.
I thought I won the lottery. So I called him because I was still connected with them, had his number. I said, hey, here's what happened. I want to send you $1,000. That was your business. And he told me a very valuable lesson. He said, Steve, no. And here's why. One, I'm retired, so I'm not, you don't need to pay me. But two, you took my advice and you ran with it. A lot of people didn't allow me to serve them, and they missed out. And that's okay. But you did that. Because you did that and started the day you got the book and that month, I'm sure my life changed. My business changed. People came in my door because of me serving you and you following it. I was able to serve others. It then clicked. This service thing really works with people and relationships.
Yeah, it's amazing how much of our life can be transformed by a simple message, right? In a book or one connection that you weren't anticipating having that day. And you took what was given to you and you ran with it as best as you could at the time, making $3 an hour. And sounds like you wanted to give back for the value that he delivered in your life over those years.
Yeah, I learned at the health club because customer service was big to us. We were one of the top clubs because service. I would walk around the gym. That was my job as operations. It's just talk to people. Hey, how's your workouts going? Hey, and then it become conversations like this. How was your vacation? How was your baby? One lady was pregnant. She was supposed to give birth the next day. Are you okay? She did give birth the next day, and it was a great birth, but she went through a whole workout. And I built these wonderful relationships where I go out to dinner with my friends. People would come up to me like, how do you know that guy? Oh, from the club. And there's this running joke that people would say, Steve, if you got married, you'd have to reserve the football stadium of the 49ers, Candlestick Park, because you could have to fight 40,000. You know everybody.
Right.
Yeah, of course. But I just learned the value of serving and uplifting and helping people genuinely with no recourse at all. Now, people go, well, you're walking around helping people to build your business. Yeah, that's how you build a business. Building that relationship, bringing them value. And they're going to stay as members. And they did. We had members stay for years. I talked to them today. I just talked to somebody a couple of weeks ago that was a member of the club. Still remembers that.
So your whole platform, your whole business is really built around this idea of serving others. And it seems to me like this book and this encounter with this gentleman when you were very young is what first opened your eyes to the power of service. Why do you think that this message is resonating so strongly with individuals and businesses alike right now? I came from a corporate world years ago, very autocratic, old school leadership styles that really didn't resonate with me, as a team member at the time, and still doesn't. But there's definitely been a shift from old school management and leadership practices to this, let's lead with purpose, let's serve others. Why do you think that is really resonating with people today?
People are fearful right now, and nobody's doing it. LinkedIn, yesterday, I got 3 people pitching me on LinkedIn. They don't know me. And here's a little tip, audience. If people pitch you, email or on LinkedIn or social media, repitch them. And I tell them, hey, Tony, I appreciate you reaching out. I'm not interested in your services, but here's my podcast. Why don't you subscribe? And half the people do subscribe. So just pitch them. But it's the world of less and less. So I need to make sales. I got to do anything to make sales. And it's just not the way to do it.
Yeah, I think that really comes from a scarcity mindset. And, when people have a need, and obviously, I mean, when you look at all the layoffs and financial uncertainty and political uncertainty that exists in the world today, I understand that it's easy for people to default to that scarcity mindset, but they overlook the value that is built in long-term relationships. And that's started by really learning how to connect and communicate with people the way that you and I are doing here today.
Amen. I've talked to many success billionaires, multiple 100, 200, 300 millionaires who do this, who give competitors their clients that they can't work with, and they're super successful. That's the other thing, Nathan, is I talk to people all the time. Well, I got to pay my bills. Well, I got bills to pay too. Well, how am I going to serve? I'm not going to make any money off Nathan. That's not your goal. You work through Nathan by bringing them value, connecting with them, and they may give you some referrals. I get 3 to 5 referrals daily because I built so many wonderful relationships. Or I can reach out to my network, go, I need help with this, and I'll get bombarded with people supporting me and helping me. It's that reciprocity. Law of reciprocity goes both ways.
So when you talk about doing business with a service heart, which is also, you shared a little bit about this already, but maybe we can go a little bit more in depth. What are some of the daily habits or leadership behaviors that reflect that mindset for you? And maybe even what have you seen, in the traditional workplace, in your business endeavors that has really resonated with you?
Names. Everybody you ran into, ask their name, ask their name, ask their name. If you don't remember somebody's name, say, hey, what was your name again? I know we met 6 months ago. People don't get upset with that. They want to be seen and noticed. And here's a practice that I tell people when I mentor a lot of entrepreneurs. When you go to your grocery store, to your restaurant, and you're taking your bag, your groceries, and they're bagging them, and they're say, hey, Jim, how's your day going? Great, great. Hey, Jim, thank you for packing those bags. And Jim, have a wonderful day. Said their name 3 times.
Yeah.
I've had people tear up. I've had people not do anything. But we just made their life 10, 15, 30, 45 seconds better by saying their name. Nobody gets up when you say their name. It's a great way to bring value to people because they're seen.
And it's so easy to do, right? That's one of the things that I try to be intentional about doing when I go to the local Crunch Fitness, for example, here in the Broken Arrow area. Everybody's wearing a name badge, and I call them by name. Thank you, Sally, for for scheduling that for me or whatever the case might be. And you're right, they do light up because we love hearing our own name. And like to your point, we like to be seen and like to be heard. And I was in the retail world for a long time. It's a difficult space to be in. Of course, anything customer service related at that level is a difficult space to be in. And I know how I felt at times. I've had bad, the manager was riding my back, whatever the case might be. But having that customer come in that called me by name and just maybe even had a short 30-second conversation or something like that and asked me how I was doing, that was significant and meant the world to me.
You're going to love this. And audience, you're going to love this too. Here's another way to really build your serving skill. When you go to a restaurant and you get great service, really good, whatever level you want to go with, I do this all the time. Go to the waiter and go, Tony, I keep thinking Tony, I'm Italian, maybe that's why. Hey, Tony, can you go grab your manager? And they're going to ask you what's going on. How can I just
they're going to automatically assume something's wrong, right?
Yeah, you're in retail, and that's scary. First of all, let's kind of take that. Why should it be scary? Because that's what we're used to, especially in retail. And I did this at a restaurant, and I could see them walking away, and they're talking, and you could tell it's not a good conversation. So the manager's coming over because they're saying, "What'd you do wrong?" I can imagine what the manager, and I'm not blaming the manager because that's again where everybody goes to. So the manager walked up and said, introduced me. I'm Steve. Hey, was Debbie her name? I said, Debbie, I just got to tell you, Tony was incredible. Talked to my wife about her kids. The food was great. Asked us how the food, just really good waiter. And we really appreciate that. And their shoulders just go, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I always ask this question. And I've asked over 100 managers this question at restaurants. How often do you hear good things about your wait staff? This lady had been there for 3 years. She's heard it 3 times in 3 years. What the hell are we doing, customers? Because
no doubt.
I want to write a book, and I'm going to do it. I have a guy that's going to help me. How to be a good customer. Not customer, and you can relate in retail. There's no reason to come in and yell at Nathan, who's working this retail store, because it's cold in there, or whatever your reason is. We always yell at the person in front of us. Go get the person that can give you an answer, but don't yell at them. Ask questions. Here's my problem. How can you help me? I guarantee you, what's that phrase? You feed them with sugar. I don't remember the phrase. Or honey, you get more bees or something like that. You listening out there, you probably know what it is. Bring kindness to people. There's times to be upset when I've been my share of upset, but most of the time we can be good people. And that's all I'm talking about, doing business with a servant's heart, doing life with a servant's heart.
It's so unfortunate that the default is for people in the service industry to think that something is wrong. But at the end of the day, I mean, just human nature in general, I mean, people tend to feel called out more than they feel called up. And it's even worse in the online world, right? It's so easy to be a keyboard soldier and troll people on Facebook or X or LinkedIn if you disagree with their position on a topic or whatever the case might be. But I love that you're shifting the narrative and you're doing something different, and it starts with one person. So kudos to you for being intentional and calling people up when so many other people are calling them out.
I appreciate that. And that's what we should do in every interaction. I do a lot of one-on-one. I don't do as many now, but I do one-on-one calls. And audience, here's a tip. When you jump on a one-on-one call, your first mindset and thought should be, how can I bring value? How can I uplift this person? It's going to come in many different forms. And maybe you can't to a level you think you can. It could be, and I do, Nathan, I love your background on your video. It's clean. It's cool. I love your logo. Just something like that will change people's lives. And here's a perfect story. You're going to love this, Nathan. So I was at a grocery store. I tell people all the time, when you're not having a good day, go serve. Whatever that looks like. Call your best friend, but go bring value, serve somebody. So I was at the grocery store at 2:00. Don't usually leave the office. And had this this call from the Lord to pay this groceries for this lady. We hear it on Starbucks all the time. Pay for the car behind me. And So I go ahead. The clerk is a young guy. He's a surfer dude, long hair. Dude, you don't do that. Well, dude, you're paying for it. That's weird. Do me a favor. Can you just let me? And she's like, no, no, no. And I got him to do it. And she was okay with it. And we walk out together and she starts tearing up. I get worried. What did I do wrong? Her name was Debbie. What did I do wrong? I'm sorry. She goes, no, no, no. These are tears of joy. My husband lost his job last week. We were hurting for money. I don't know how we're going to pay for these because she's holding the baby, these diapers, formula, and other things. Here's the cool thing. It's great that I did that, and I appreciate that. I didn't know the shoes she was walking in. I did not know her husband lost a job. Two things come from that. What is she going to do when she gets home, Nathan? Tell her husband. This guy Steve bought our groceries. Oh, my God. They may pay it forward. Not everybody does, but they may pay it forward. So now you have this compounding of serving. But more importantly, how many people out there, audience, you're talking to, it's the same thing, but you'll never know the story. It's probably 90% of the time.
Steve, that reminds me of a story. Years ago, my kids were very young, probably 4 and 1. And my wife and I, we moved here to Oklahoma from Missouri, so we didn't have any family, at the time. And so if we were going out on a date, when my kids were young, we took them with us, right? So here we are in a fine restaurant with a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old. And my kids were always very well behaved at a very young age, not the type to cry and, public places and that kind of thing. And there was a family of 4 sitting next to us, and they wanted to pay for our dinner, just because my wife and I are young. We're there with our 2 young kids. They were amazed at how well behaved our children were. And out of pride, I said, no, thank you. I appreciate the offer, but I turned their ability to give to me down. And that really didn't speak to me in the moment. I learned years later that I had robbed that person of their blessing to be able to give to me. And if I had been able to go back and relive that moment again, I just would have accepted their blessing and thanked them for it.
I love that you said you're an incredible host. The audience,
thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
Watching Nathan's show, because I learned even a step deeper in this. I was doing that all the time. Hey, here's 10 introductions. No, I don't need help. I'm good. And there's one guy who was doing 250 million a year. He was super successful. I told him what I was doing. I said, can you help me? Why am I not like you? I'm doing it. He says, here's what you're doing. When you say no to people like you did, Nathan, not consciously, not walking away going, oh, Nathan, guy, I tried to help him. What an idiot. But their subconscious goes, I tried to bring gifts after he's given me gifts by being there as a customer. They may forget about you. Because subconsciously rolls 95% of our brain. And I went, oh my God. So once I started accepting, my life blew up. Opportunities blew up. And I say yes to everything. But I've brought, like you did, we bring value to people first.
Yeah.
Uplift them. So thank you.
You're welcome. So Steve, where do you think leaders often struggle with servant leadership? When someone falls short, maybe they act out of ego or urgency. It was definitely a pride thing, an ego thing for me in that example I just gave, being reluctant to accept the $100, for the meal and allow them to pay. But how can we reset and return to a spirit of service in a way that feels genuine, especially in a broken world?
Say no. Darren Hardy, who's a Success Magazine, I watched videos, and he had a video on Monday, Nathan, that talked about that. Servant leadership is dead if all you're doing is enabling and keeping that one employee there that's ruining the whole team culture. You've got to say no because you're serving them. They're not a fit to your company. You're not a fit for them. But what you do to serve them is go, hey, Jim, not a fit, either find another department or find them a company they can work at and make some calls. We think that we have to serve everybody and say yes, 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 yes to everything. And I used to do that. So I lived this for 10 years and was broke because people enabled me, or I enabled them, excuse me. Because I've worked with this one guy once a month for a year. He never did anything I said, but I'd spend an hour with him. And people go, well, that's only an hour, but what hour I could have met somebody like you. that could have uplifted me, somebody that could have helped me, somebody could have mentored me, somebody that could have paid me, maybe become a client. So we have to learn as a servant's heart, no can be a great word.
So let's finish up here. When organizations, think back to business experience that you've had personally, when organizations truly embrace a culture of service, in your opinion, in your professional opinion, what becomes possible, not only for their people, but for their clients and ultimately the long-term success of the business? And then I'd like to hear what you have coming up on your podcast and TV show, and we'll wrap up our time together.
It's super simple. A great culture like that, a service culture where you're taking care of your employees. And this doesn't mean Beer Fridays or Tuesday Taco Tuesdays. That's a Band-Aid for culture. That means everybody's walking around being authentic and genuine. You have long-term employees. The biggest problem I talk to about entrepreneurs that start a team, they're going through employees and churning through employees. Well, each employee that leaves costs you more money because you got to retrain them, costs you time. So culture keeps the great people there staying with you, even when the times are tough. COVID taught us that. Taught that many companies survived because their culture was so good. So culture can lead to success, but more importantly, to good people. And I guarantee you, you've worked in companies and corporate. Good people are so valuable. You want to keep them.
Yeah, and so many of those leaders and organizations, they're looking for maybe internal factors and external factors that are really increasing their turnover numbers and decreasing their retention numbers. But I think a lot of times it starts with looking inward at ourselves in the mirror and say, what am I possibly doing that's contributing to high turnover? What could I do better that would keep our people here and ultimately help them be more engaged, productive, and feel like they're fulfilling their purpose in this workplace?
Real quick, the last thing I would suggest, a
Yeah.
principle I came up with, I love sharing this, it's called the ASLA principle, ASLA. Ask, shut up, listen, ask. And if you're a leader and you're doing that, you are going to learn all about your employees. Doesn't mean you're going to accept everything they say, but you're listening, and that's all people care about. Instead of being in that meeting going, I got all these great ideas. Yeah, that's stupid, Steve. Don't do that. Not that people do that, but even your body language could do that. But ask, shut up, and listen. And it just goes to, Nathan, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a CPA. Wow. So I shut up. Oh, he's a CPA. How long have you been doing that? Oh, it's been about 20 years. Real quick, what's your challenges? And he tells me the challenges because I shut up and listen, go, here's a way I can serve you. So now the servitude comes in. So want to add that.
No, that's great, Steve. Thank you so much. This has really been an empowering conversation today. I mean, your message is definitely, it's a needed reminder that leading with a servant's heart, it isn't a side strategy. It really is the strategy, right? And it's a lifestyle. It's a way of showing up in the world. For those of you who are watching this episode, I've linked to Steve's newsletter. I've linked to his LinkedIn as well. So make sure you scan both of those QR codes and connect with Steve on LinkedIn and subscribe to his newsletter. You'll be so grateful that you did. And if you're a leader committed to elevating others through service, I'd love to hear your story. Reach out to us at leadempowered.com/TV. Thank you for joining us, Steve. It was a pleasure interviewing you. Remember, as you know, leadership is an opportunity to serve others, not to be served ourselves. Have a great day.